Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and welcome to MFSN Baseball Waiver Wire. I'm Ross the Boss. I want to talk baseball with you. I got Dr. Dan with me. Dr. Dan, say hello.
It's good to see you all. I'll just pretend I'm Casey. I'll do the job of
It's
Casey.
not that hard to pretend you're Casey. Just stand there with a dumb look on your face, and you're Casey Steinfeld. There you go.
Actually, I find that hard.
You find that hard. So I'm here coming from La City, Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. We are talking baseball. A lot of stuff going on in baseball. Unbelievable. Yesterday on MFSN, we interviewed Carlos Estevez, who's the closer for the Angels. If you guys want to go back and look at it on our page, you can. He was very insightful. A lot of good stuff going on with him. Dr. Dan, let's talk baseball. Let's talk Cincinnati. 9 games in a row. As you know, I'm a Reds fan. I'm wearing my wristband right now. What's your thought in Cincinnati? I know you're in Cleveland. I know you're not too far away. What's going on in Ohio in the Reds?
I mean, they look legit, and they have such a huge amount of talent coming in. In some ways, it's not surprising. It's surprising to see it coming together so fast. And you sent me the standings yesterday, and I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, not 9 wins in a row does a lot for you in the standings, and I think they're legit just because they have so much talent.
And the crazy thing is, Votto came back. I was like, oh no, Votto. And we have so much great synergy going on. Votto's coming back. Votto comes back, hits a home run, hits a single and scores 2 runs. He was the big reason the Reds won yesterday. And I'm happy Votto's back. I even picked him up in our fantasy league just for fun. What do you like that?
I could see him making a deep run because of the excitement. I mean, think what it's like when a veteran like Votto has one last chance to win here, and he's got these young players that are energizing him. I could see him having a big impact.
They called a press conference yesterday at 3:00 Eastern time, and I know Votto was activated, and I thought he was going to announce his retirement. I really did. I did not think he was going to play like yesterday, and I thought he was going to just announce his retirement. This is my last season. Blah blah blah. Basically, it was just like, hey, I'm back. I'm excited. We have a young team. I'm glad to be part of it, and I'm happy he's back. I mean, it's. I mean, Votto. He's 39, but I'll tell you this much. I mean, he can still hit, and I think he'll bring a lot of, his ability to lead a team. I think it's going to help the Reds a lot.
100%. And I'm excited just because you text me every half an hour or so telling me how exciting the Reds are, and I love it.
I hope you love it.
I'm happy for you.
So Uncle Ted's here. Uncle Ted, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, Luis Matos. We'll get to him. We're not to outfielders yet, but we'll talk about the San Francisco Giant, who's 5 category guy. That's going to have a great second half. I feel it. And we'll talk about how great Matos is. I agree with you, Dr. Ted. Dr. Ted. Uncle Ted. Dr. Dan is over there.
We hand out honorary doctorates all the time.
And Dan, I was thinking about a good nickname for you. I'm going to call you the King of Pain, because I like the police, but also you are an accomplished writer and doctor, a real doctor, not a fake one like some people. But you specialize in back pain. I mean that's what your forte is. And so I'm just going to call you the King of Pain. And people will ask, why do you call him that? And that's the reason I call you that. So I hope you like the nickname King of Pain.
I've stood here before inside the pouring rain.
Dr. Dan.
I get it. And I love it. By the way, I cure pain. I don't cause it. I just want to make that clear.
Right. That's why you're the King of Pain. You cure it. So let's talk. The one story I want to talk about, which made me laugh. The bus driver for the Milwaukee Brewers, the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was driving back from Milwaukee, was pulled over for DUI, driving the Pittsburgh Pirates back to Pittsburgh. This guy was lit up. I mean, he was really lit.
I mean, that's scary.
I mean, it's dangerous, but it's like, what the heck is going on? I mean, seriously, your driver of your bus who's carrying all the team members is drunk. And I mean, it's not getting that much press, but you can read about it. The people are writing about it. But I mean, what are your thoughts? I sent you the article. What are your thoughts on that whole debacle in Milwaukee/Pittsburgh?
I mean, mainly it's no laughing matter. Of course, we can laugh at it in theory, but when you think about the reality of it, it's dangerous and scary as hell. I mean, those players could have been killed. The team personnel could have been killed. People who could have gotten hit by the bus could have gotten killed. It's dangerous stuff. And, the fact that it's high profile, hopefully it spreads awareness of like, you really have to be careful about this stuff.
I mean, I agree. This is like, we're talking about MLB. We're not talking about some farm team in Asheville, North Carolina. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were in first place, not anymore. But I mean, we're talking Major League Baseball, and we're talking about one of the drivers for the bus was drunk legally, and all the contracts. I mean, just not all the money that's involved, but also the families and everything else that involved. I mean, when you're driving a bus, you're in charge of people's lives. You know what I mean? It's not good.
No, absolutely. Oh, we have another comment coming in from Uncle Ted, and I'm going to leave it to you because I'm getting used to this sidekick role. You go.
You're welcome to read it. I let Casey do read it. So, R.I.P. Ted K, also known as Uncle Ted. Crazy, but he's right. That's funny.
Is this because you named him Dr. Ted? I think so.
Dr. K Ted. I like that. But Uncle Ted, yes. Uncle Ted did ask some questions yesterday with Carlos Estevez, too. He was terrific. So let's talk waiver wire pickup. Let's talk the catcher position. Any catchers you like, Dr. Dan Renner, that we should be picking up?
Well, I mean, of course, our cover boy today is Henry Davis. And, first of all, he's a big-time prospect, but the other thing is he's playing in the outfield. If you can have a catcher who plays in another position and is going to get that kind of playing time, I think he's got to be a priority pickup. So I'm looking at catcher. He's my number one pickup. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, this guy was the number one prospect from the Pittsburgh organization. I mean, he's been in the minor leagues for a while, but this guy does everything.
He steals bases too.
He steals bases. He RBIs, home runs. He's a 5-cat guy, and I like this guy. And I remember when the Pirates, the Pirates were so bad for so many years, they got all these top picks, and he was one of them. But I like him, and on Yahoo, he'll be eligible in the outfield probably in a week. So if you pick him up, you get him at catcher and an outfield. And I like Henry Davis also. Another guy that it's going to really been doing well the past week is Danny Jansen of Toronto. He has 3 home runs the past week, but Kirk is on the IL. So Jansen's going to get a lot of playing time, and he's been killing the ball. I mean, Jansen has been unbelievable. And another guy I like is Patrick Bailey. He's been hitting .344 the past 2 weeks with 8 RBIs. He's been on fire, Patrick Bailey. And usually the catcher position, I never say he's on fire, but this guy really is. So we got 3 good catchers right here. Anybody else I'm missing?
No, I just want to give a shout out to Danny Jansen because I was high on him coming into the season. If you look at his home run to at bat ratio, it's insane throughout his career, and the pitchers trust him there. Everyone was talking about Alejandro Kirk, and I was like, look, I don't know, but I'm looking at Danny Jansen. I know the pitching staff trusts him. He had 15 homers in just 215 at-bats last year, and he's on that pace again. 9 homers, 144 at-bats. It's the exact same pace. His average is lower than it was last year, but, a lot of catchers struggle with average, so I think he's worth bringing in. Uncle Ted does make a couple points about some catchers. Bo Naylor of my Cleveland Guardians, definitely worth investing him. Well, I mean, he's a high prospect. He's Josh Naylor's brother. A lot of people say he's more talented than Josh with the bat and certainly behind the plate. But he's going to be up with the Guardians soon, I would think. And so
he was. I remember he was up during September last year. I remember him. Yeah. I remember him in the dugout. Him and his brother hanging out, and he's been tearing it up in the minors. I agree with you. He'll be, if he's not up now, he should be up very soon.
And if you have an NA stash on your bench, then it's a total no-brainer, especially in 2 catcher leagues. Scoop him up. Uncle Ted also brings up Travis Darnod. He's doing a lot of great, and he's another guy.
Isn't he over? He's under 60%. That's shocking.
Not only that, Ross, guess what? He's under 30%. He's 27% rostered. You got to remember, at this point in the season, people have forgotten. Half of managers check out at this point. This guy shouldn't be 27% rostered. Totally agree with Uncle Ted.
I agree. Those are good pickups. Let's talk first base. Who's your number 1 first baseman pickup for the week?
I was debating this because you can look at a lot of guys and think, okay, is this the guy to scoop up like Ryan O'Hearn? I think he's a good pickup, but at the same time, he's 29 years old. is he really worth this kind of
Yeah, but
investment?
remember these pickups are a lot of them are streakers,
A lot, right?
and
Especially in
so
head-to-head leagues.
so Baltimore to me is one of the best teams in the American League, pitching and hitting. I mean, they're just having a good season. They're just going to get better and
It's
better.
worth a pickup, but I will tell you, there's a guy I have ahead of him certainly.
I can't wait to hear this.
It's Luke Raley.
Tell me about Luke. What's he been doing? What's he hitting the past 2 weeks?
I'll check in the last 2 weeks.
I have the answer. He's hitting 333 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs the past 2 weeks. Luke has been solid. Just he doesn't play every day for Tampa Bay, but
That's
he plays
true.
a lot.
But I'd rather have a guy that plays 3/4 of the time and is playing well. And meanwhile, he steals bases also.
He does. And I like that pickup a lot. That's a good one. And Ryan O'Hearn, just so you know, the past 2 weeks, he's hitting 441 with 3 home runs. And he's been doing this for the past month.
They both qualify for outfield too, which is
I've been banging his name for the past 2 weeks, and he has not moved from that 4. He's been hitting 400, so he's been on fire. And the only other one that I like, just because they're playing really good baseball in San Francisco, is Lamont Wade Jr. He's hitting 310 with 10 RBIs the past 2 weeks, which is okay, pretty good. 10 RBIs in 12 games or 13 games is great. And the Giants are playing really well. They're really scoring runs. I mean, last night they were down by 2 runs in the 9th, and they came back and beat the Padres. I mean, and they swept the Dodgers before that. So the Giants are a hot team, and if you can pick somebody up from that team, it's a good idea.
Let me ask you. I mean, Christian Encarnacion Strand, with Votto back, are they going to find room for this kid?
Votto can DH. Strand is a first baseman, and I think he can play third too, I think. But right now he's in the minors. There's really no room for him. I mean, I wish I could say bring him up, but where do we put him? I mean, I like this kid. I mean, he's from California, and I have friends that are friendly with him because I'm trying to get him on the show, but he's a very shy guy. He doesn't like to do interviews. I tried, Dan. But he is the Reds just want him to play every day in Louisville, which he's doing. So I hope they bring him up soon, but I don't know if they will because they don't have room.
Again, if you have an NA spot, I think he's probably worth it. Uncle Ted has a suggestion. What do you think? Spencer Horwitz, Toronto first baseman. He's had 6 at bats so far.
Spencer Horwitz.
Yeah. He's my dentist. No,
I went to his bar mitzvah, but I have no idea where he's playing right now. Fill me in.
Toronto first baseman. I mean, Uncle Ted, I got to give Uncle Ted some credit. We have some viewers out here who bring names to our attention. They do deep dives. Uncle Ted's one of them. So listen, I'll be totally honest. I hadn't even heard of Spencer Horwitz.
I don't know who Spencer Horwitz. Again, he sounds like somebody I went to the remnants. I don't know who he is. And talking about a team that has no room for hitters, I don't know where Spencer Horwitz hits in the Toronto lineup because they're stacked.
So he's 25 years old, and in the minors, he almost walked as much as he struck out. He wasn't showing profiling a lot of power so far. I don't know. That's what I'm looking at right now.
I don't know. They have this guy named Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that plays first base for them. So I don't know where you put this guy, but there you go. So first base. Anybody else we're missing? I think we're good.
I mean, some people are talking about Ryan Noda, I think, is a decent pickup. I think he's a solid pickup as well, but I have the other guys ahead of him.
He's in IL. He's been injured a little bit, but he's okay. Second base, I only have one second baseman, and it's Brandon Donovan. He's hitting 353 for the Cardinals. Cardinals are horrible. I mean, they're in last place, which I love, but I mean, they just can't. Their hitters are just disappointing this year. But I don't really have many second basemen. I think that's the weakest position this week. Is anybody else second base that you like?
It's been a pretty weak position in general. I'll say I don't love this pickup, especially not right now because he's a little bit cold. But Willie Castro has 13 stolen bases on the season. So sometimes it's about picking up the stat that you need more than the player that you think is the best. I also think Orlando Arcia he's a solid pickup.
I like Atlanta. I mean, you pick up anybody on the Braves, it's a good pickup. All they do is score runs, and all they do is win. I think they're the best team in the National League, and they have a potent lineup. Michael Harris Jr. or second, whatever it goes by, he's starting to hit the ball now, which is scary.
Yep.
You know,
I really, I mean, there are other guys you could fill in, but they feel weak to me. Like Luis Garcia of the Nationals.
I
You could
mentioned,
plug him in.
you're right. He's weak. You're right. I mean, you're better off, picking up, Ha Kim from
I
the
also think,
Padres.
this could be a time where instead of looking at the waiver wire, you look at a trade and just sacrifice somewhere else because this is a weak position. I don't see a lot of value out there right now.
Not at second base. Let's talk shortstop. I'm going to bring a name up from the past. I'm going to bring up Javi Baez. I mean, again, Detroit's been playing a lot better. They've been hitting the ball really well. They've been winning games. They've been scoring. Javi Baez the past 2 weeks hitting 300, 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. That's solid for your shortstop. I mean, if your shortstop can do that throughout the year, you're going to be in great shape. So he's like my top shortstop pickup. But am I missing somebody at the shortstop position?
First of all, I want to agree with you. I think he'd be my top pickup as well. And some of it's because of what he's been able to do in the past. I do want to say, again, Orlando Arcia qualifies as shortstop also. Do you know what he's done in the last 14 days?
Tell me. I have no idea.
11 runs, 2 homers, 12 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and a 447 average. Now, you'd be chasing the stats. Is it possible he'll just fall off a cliff? Yes, it is. But is it also possible that you'll get another hot week out of it? It's worth taking a chance. I think.
No, it's definitely worth a chance. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I'm surprised he's under 60% or he's like under 50%, I believe.
Actually, you know what? I said it and I just looked and I realized he's 67% rostered. So we should probably.
No wonder I didn't have him on my list. No wonder I didn't have him.
Whereas Javi Baez is 43% and still would be my top pick up there.
Yep. So let's talk third base. Somebody that's having a career year. He finally put together. He's injury free. He's plays for the Giants, who are just killing the ball. Is JD Davis, and the past week he's hitting 290, 9 RBIs. Again, when this guy came up, everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing for New York, and he got hurt. But now he's injury free and he's playing great baseball for the Giants. I like him a lot at third base. If you need help with third base, it's not a bad pickup. What do you think?
Oh, I think to me, he's really high up there in terms of who you would pick up. He's just continued to hit, and he was a high prospect when he first came up. I just think people have lost him off the radar. They don't believe in him anymore, but he's putting it together. And like you said, the Giants are playing well. I think it's a great pickup. It's looking like he's day to day here. So I'm checking in to see what happened.
I saw that too. Yahoo had him at DTD, which means day to day. I'm not quite sure. It could be, who knows? I mean, they sometimes do that if somebody has a stomach virus or somebody has a.
This was an ankle though.
It's an ankle.
So
well,
they're saying it should, listen, when you see day to day, what it's saying is they're evaluating whether he's going to go on the 10-day IR list or not. And what I'm reading is it sounds like he's only going to be out a couple of days. So I still think he's worth the pickup. Another guy,
okay, good.
Jace Peterson. He's hitting
plays for the A's. I mean, again, but the A's are playing better baseball. They won 7 in a row, which is like a miracle. I mean,
and look at this stat line over the last 2 weeks. I'm not saying that he'll do this, but 7 runs, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, and a 325 average. Now, if we could always capture that on our teams and just have that consistently, we'd win all the leagues. Uncle Ted is mentioning some names I want to check out.
But also, remember, Jazz Patterson, he plays like 4 different positions, doesn't he? I mean, Yahoo has
Jace Peterson is, I love how you called him Jazz Patterson. Second base, third base, and outfield.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, he's a qualifies. And it's always good to have other positions for these players that are going to be on your bench or don't play every day in your fantasy team. It's good to have some options with some of these players because God forbid if one of your stars goes down, at least you have this guy on your bench that can take his place. It makes sense.
So I actually missed this comment before, and this was about shortstop. So I'm going to jump back for a second to Jacob Amaya. Do you know this guy on the Marlins?
I know who he is. Yes.
So Uncle Ted's recommending him as a pickup. What would you say about picking up Jacob Amaya?
Again, the Marlins are 7 games over 500. They're playing great baseball. Their pitching staff, I think, is one of the best in the National League. They're solid. And I'm not sold on Jacob quite yet. He hasn't played enough Major League Baseball to be sold yet. But he definitely has the potential. I don't know if I would pick him up. I think there's better people out there right now. But if you can stash him, great. It's a stash.
And you like I always say, you can give him a tryout. I mean, he's a young kid and playing on a good team. So
and Jazz Grissom, your guy Jazz, is not coming back for a while. I mean, I don't know where he's been like missing
I'll
in
check
action.
on that in a second. I actually had lost track of that.
Jameer Candelario.
So this is back to the third base discussion.
I know this guy plays for the Nationals, and Uncle Ted, we've talked about him before, but it's like as soon as I pick him up, he goes 0 for 20. It's like, I just can't recommend him anymore. He's too streaky for me. He's too much of like hot cold guy. But and he plays on a really bad team, the Nationals, really bad. I don't know who's worse, the Nationals or the Royals. Who do you think's worse?
I think it's the Nationals, but not by much.
I mean, the Nationals win like one game a week. That's it. And the Kansas City is horrible. And
they score one run a week. No,
and the A's will not have the worst record this year. It's going to be Kansas City.
It's pretty incredible, actually, that there's 3 teams out there like that. I'm trying to think if we're missing anybody else, but those 3 teams for sure.
Well, those teams for sure. I mean, it's hard to watch. So let's talk outfielders. I know you did a short about who you should pick up this week. Why don't we talk about him first?
Okay, and I shared with you what I was doing, and you promptly outbid me in our league, which applause to you. This is Eddie Rosario. Eddie Rosario, he's a veteran, but he used to put up big numbers even just 2 years ago. Then he was having some vision problems, and this is why I've had my eye on him. I'll use that pun for a guy who got LASIK, but there was no reason to think he wouldn't return to being a good hitter once he got the eye problem fixed, and it's sure looking like that. I mean, have you seen his stats recently?
I've seen him, but why don't you tell our audience what he's been doing the past couple weeks?
Let me pull up these numbers. Okay,
I mean, he's been on fire. I mean,
the last 30. Listen to these numbers. I mean, he's the number 10 Yahoo player in the last 30 days. 19 runs, 9 homers, 24 RBIs.
That's in 1 month. That's 30
1
days.
month. He's on pace for 125 RBIs at that, and he's batting .303 as well. And he's in a great lineup.
He's in a very protected lineup. He's with Ronald Acuna, who's going to be the MVP. He's with a lot of talent in that lineup. The Braves are stacked. I mean, the Braves are a team that I think can win the World Series, but anybody can win.
Well, and I think one of the reasons I would prioritize Eddie Rosario, and by the way, Uncle Ted's commenting 10 games over 500, I think was about the Marlins. But one of the reasons I'd make Rosario a priority pickup is I think he's going to help you for the rest of the year.
I do too. I think he'll be there throughout the year, and I just think he'll. I don't know if he'll keep hitting what he's hitting, but he'll have over 100 RBIs, especially in that lineup. Yeah. Another guy, which I'm going to say for Uncle Ted, is Luis Matos of the I was going to say 49ers of the Giants. He's a 21-year-old phenom. He really is. And this guy in the minor leagues this year alone, Dr. Dan Ratner, 350, 10 home runs, 15 stolen bases. And that's just 2 months of playing in the 6 weeks in the minor leagues. And so they brought this guy up, and he's playing every day. Remember, the Giants swept the Dodgers over the weekend. They're playing really good baseball in San Francisco right now. And Matos, I mean, this guy has potential to be a 5-category guy. There's not many guys I can say that about. And they're going to let him play. I mean, they didn't bring him up to ride the bench. So if he's available in your league, I would say he's probably a must add. If he's available in your league today, just pick him up.
And he's 37% rostered, so he's widely available. Here's the other thing. I do think that people often say, like, look at this guy's minor league numbers, and you look at them and they're eye-popping. You got to remember, if you look across organizations, all the organizations have some guys like this.
I know.
But a guy like this, especially with the power-speed combo, definitely worth picking up.
But he's 21 years old. I mean, it's like that Jordan Walker of St. Louis. It's like, he's 20. I mean, when these guys are this young and they're hitting that well in the minor leagues, I mean, the ceiling is so high.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're just going to get better. Any other outfielders that you like?
Well, first, Uncle Ted was pointing out the infielders are so thin this year, and I completely agree. It seems like it's thinner than ever. So let's see. Looking at other outfielders,
I have Tommy Pham.
I was just going to say Tommy Pham. That's funny.
I mean, he's a streaky guy. He's hitting .311 the past 2 weeks with 2 home runs and 12 RBIs. again.
Taylor Ward is another guy like that who
Taylor Ward,
on and off waivers,
100%. He'll be up and down on the waiver wire. He'll be dropped and picked up and dropped and picked up. Tommy Pham too. I mean, all these guys you'll see on the waiver. Every other week they'll be on the waiver wire. So don't
Jaron Duran is also starting to hit again, and he steals a lot of bases. So if you need stolen bases, I would go that route. Uncle Ted's talking about a prospect. Oh, do we wish Casey were here now? Because Casey can talk about prospects to no end. Sal Frelick. What do you know about this guy?
Sal Frelick. I don't know Sal Frelick. I don't know who he is. I have no idea what organization he plays for. Uncle Ted, please type us and tell us his stats and tell us who he plays for, because I never heard of Sal Frelick.
Well, I actually have had my eye on Sal Frelick for a little while here.
Who's he play for?
Uncle Ted says he's the Brewers' top prospect, and I think at this point, unless you're counting Jackson Chourio, I think that's true. I think Jackson Chourio would be regarded as their top prospect, but Sal Frelick is not far off, and I think he's ready to contribute.
And all Milwaukee does, strike out. That team strikes out more than they have to be leading the league. Every time I watch a Milwaukee game,
it's got to be the Mariners, isn't it?
Milwaukee's close.
Milwaukee's close.
Horrible hitting. So let's talk pitchers. The first pitcher, which I'm shocked he's under 6%. He's been on fire. His ERA is under 1 the past. It's like 0.45 the past 2 weeks. I think he's 3-0 the past 2 weeks. Is Tejan Walker of the Phillies. I mean, this guy has been pitching like a madman, and he's still he's still under 60%, and no one respects him.
Rostered.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, pick him up. What are you waiting for? I mean, what else can this guy do to prove to you he's ready to roll? I mean, Tejan is the man. I mean, 0.45 ERA the past 2 weeks, 3-0. I mean, I know the Phillies don't score many runs right now, but they will. They're a second half team like they did last year. Remember what happened last year? They went to the World Series. So who else do you like, Dan? Is any good pitching prospects I've been missing?
Gavin Williams.
There you go. I've set you up.
Coming up. You set me up. It was like right on a tee. But
so
Gavin Williams is my Guardians. Go ahead.
I read about him. He's 6'7". He's 23 years old. He's 6'7", big dude. He loves to strike people out. That's what he does for a living. And this guy is starting tomorrow against the A's. He opens his career tomorrow against the Oakland A's, and it's going to be his first start. And this guy's like the one of your top prospects in Cleveland, I imagine. I mean, he a lot of hype.
I think he's regarded as the top pitching prospect, other than maybe Daniel Espino, I think but he keeps getting injured. So Gavin Williams is at the top.
So if you want Gavin, you better pick him up before he starts against Oakland, because if he has a good start, everybody and their mother's going to be picking this kid up.
And not only that, even if he started to have bad starts, people will keep him for like at least six weeks. We got a couple comments coming in from Uncle Ted, and he's always bringing names that I'm like, Brian Wu. I don't even know who this is. You know who he is?
Plays for Seattle. Yeah, I know who he is.
Okay.
Plays for Seattle. The Mariners brought him up. I don't know how much longer he'll be in the majors, just because the Mariners have some injuries. But I like
a lot of guys.
I like Brian Wu. He pitches every time he starts. He gives a really good effort. I mean, the guy's good, and he strikes people out. I like Brian Wu a lot. That's a good idea for a pickup. It just, I don't know how much longer he'll be.
Let me give you another kind of off the radar pickup that nobody seems to be talking about, but Griffin Canning, you know this. You're an LA guy, so you at least know what's going on with the Angels some. Griffin Canning, he wasn't the hugest prospect, but he was definitely a prospect. And over the last month, 30 innings pitched, 30 strikeouts, 3 wins, 2.70 ERA, and a .93 WHIP.
Wow,
that sounds good to me.
Now, talking about Los Angeles, let's talk about the Dodgers. And he started on Saturday. Emmett Sheehan. He in the minors this year. This is your favorite stat, so I got to say it. 88 Ks in 53 innings. He did that this year in the minors.
Like 13 and a half or something.
He pitched a beautiful game, 6 innings, didn't give up any runs. I don't know if he gave up a hit. And of course, the Dodgers take him out and they lose the game. Don't ask. I'm a Dodger fan, so I loved it. But this kid is the Dodgers' top prospect. He has the youth factor going on. I don't know when his next start is. The Dodgers have not announced it. We'll see if the Dodgers go to a 6-man rotation. They could. But with Ferris, with Bueller on the DL for the whole year, and Gavin Stone was sent down to the minors, I think Sheehan's going to be I think this guy's going to have a starting rotation, be in the starting rotation. I hope.
I totally agree. And I'm going to say something a little controversial for some people, but I'm a mind-body doctor. There's no reason to take these guys out when they're throwing a no-hitter. Their arms are fine. Like we're way too worried about this stuff. They've gotten deep into the weeds about this, and actually the scientific data doesn't even show it. That's an aside, but don't you miss the days when somebody was throwing a no-hitter or a perfect game and you knew that they'd be in until
Bob Gibson would throw 200 pitches a game. I mean, Nolan Ryan would throw 180 pitches. I mean, I've never seen a pitch count until like the past 20 years. They started these pitch counts.
I mean, Bob Feller used to throw like 380 innings a year.
I mean, there's no. I mean, it's like
they're not bionic.
Well, but these guys have arms in which God gave them a gift. Might as well use it. I mean,
I agree. I think people are just too afraid. I just want to.
They are afraid. There's a couple more pitchers I like. I'll name them real quick. Braxton Garrett of the Marlins, 0.79 ERA the past 2 weeks. He's a strikeout machine. The Marlins are a good team. They're not a joke. So pick up Marlins, especially pitchers if he's available. And Brito Bello of the Red Sox, I've been saying his name for a while. He's just been on fire. His ERA is like under 1 the past 2 weeks. He's been pitching great.
Wait, what did you call him? What was his first name?
I can't read my own writing.
Brian Bello.
Brian Bello.
You called him Frito Bello, it sounded like, which
I know,
is almost
he spells his name with a Y, so that's what kind of
there you go.
The loop. But Brian Bello of the Red Sox has been really, 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 really stable for them as a starter. He started out shaky in April, but now in May and June, he's been really stable. So I like Brian Bello a lot. It's a good pickup. Anybody else in the starting role that we're missing? We mentioned some good prospects like Sheehan and Williams. So I'm just I think we got.
I'm going to name one other.
Good.
Ranger Suarez. The Phillies seem to be kind of putting it together with Taijuan Walker as well. But Ranger Suarez is not a bad pickup either. He's been pitching really, really well lately.
Oh, he started out horribly, but
his numbers
if you look at his past 5 or 6 starts, it's like 1 earned run, 0 earned runs, 1 earned run. I mean, this guy has been really putting together, and he pitches today actually, who's he pitching? He pitches against.
It's against Atlanta, so I might be careful in this particular one.
He pitches against Spencer Strider, who.
So look, I probably wouldn't start him today because you're probably not going to get the win. You're playing against a tough lineup, but I would scoop him up, and if he continues to pitch well, see if you can figure out.
Yeah, pitches against today. He should do well. It's a good test for him. We'll see what happens today. Let's talk relief pitchers.
Wait, Uncle Ted said Hogan Harris, which immediately made me think of Hogan's Heroes.
You know what team Hogan Heroes plays for?
He's not going to get a lot of wins. We know that.
No, he plays for Oakland. I mean,
but his numbers still do. Look, he's a fringe guy. Go ahead. Let's talk about relief pitchers.
Listen, let me just tell you something. Don't pick up any Oakland A's starters. Okay, don't pick up any of them.
All right, we're good with that. Now, Uncle Ted did say this, and then we'll move on to relief pitchers. It's the sliders. Too many thrown these days. Changeups are key. Even Nolan Ryan said the changeup saved his career. Well, whatever they do, great. But I do think they're way too afraid of it, and I'm not afraid to say so.
Did you see that kid at Stanford last week? Pitched 156 pitches in the regional game.
No,
for Stanford, and everybody was outraged.
Immediate Tommy John surgery afterwards.
It was like, and like,
oh my God,
let him pitch. So let's talk relief pitchers. Jordan Hicks of St. Louis is starting to get some save opportunities. He had 3 saves the past 2 weeks.
Yep.
St. Louis is not a good team, but I think they're letting Hicks now be the closer. I think. I have no idea. They switch up all the time.
I mean, Helsley could be coming back soon, but Hicks is the leading candidate right now, and he's pitching well.
And then another guy in Detroit who I think lost his job, happens all the time. Alex Lange lost his job, and this guy named Jason Foyley got the save this week, and I think he's going to be the new save guy in Detroit. So
Jason Foley, yes.
Jason Foyley, again, I'm not an expert on the bullpen for Detroit. I think I'm not the expert,
Not many people are.
but I believe he'll be stepping up as the new closer in Detroit. So if you need a closer, Jason Foley, who I never heard of until this week, is the new closer there.
So let me ask you this: if I'm looking for a relief pitcher help, would you rather have Jason Foley, Kyle Finnegan, or Scott Barlow, or Jordan Hicks?
I'll probably go for Jordan Hicks first, just because he's a little more proven. And then Detroit's been playing. I've been saying this. They've been playing a lot better. They've been hitting the ball. They've been scoring runs. I'll probably just take a chance on this guy, Jason Foley, because he could be one of these guys that gets the job and never looks back. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Finnegan to me loses his job every 2 weeks. They bring him in there, he gets a save, and then he blows 3 and he loses his job.
He also he does not get a lot of saves. In the last 30 days, Kyle Finnegan has gotten 2 saves.
Yeah, and because they don't win, they're an organization that it's going to be a big fire sale in the next month. I mean, most of their team's going to be traded. Who's ever worth anything? They already said it. So who knows who's going to be left over with that team?
Hey Ross, I think this will make you happy. Look, if you go to our website, the MFSN site, there's a move that just happened. Jason Foley picked up, dropping Kyle Finnegan. It was me. I just did it.
Oh, you just did it. So is there anybody else that we're forgetting? Uncle Ted, you can speak up. AJ Puk is back, who I love his name. I always say Puke because I think that's funny. But he plays for the Marlins. He's back. I can't figure out who the closer is.
I think AJ Puk is definitely the safest bet for that. And I think I would make him a priority pickup over any of the guys that we talked about, but he's 67% rostered. So it's
okay. Ted, you got to do your research before you put a name in. You can't just put a name in and say Aaron Judge. I mean, it's over 60%, so it doesn't do us any good if he's already picked up by somebody.
But still, 67. There's room to pick him up. I would do it
a little bit. But guys, every week there's another minor leaguer that's being brought up to all these prospects. They're really this year alone to me, Dan, has been it's been prospect every other week, and it's never been like this in Major League Baseball. You usually have to wait till September.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's because they changed the rules so you lose eligibility to bring these guys up early. They did something with the rules so
yeah,
the guys they don't have to negotiate their deal if they bring brought up early or something. They changed it, which is good.
All right, now in fairness to Uncle Ted, he says, "Hey, I just said he's back. He wasn't saying."
Okay. Didn't know.
We got your back.
But I mean, it's fun. I mean, Gavin Williams is somebody that I didn't think we brought up till September. Now he's starting tomorrow. You know
right.
What I mean?
So a lot of these big time prospects, you gotta be paying attention to. One thing I'll just add, and then we'll wrap up here, I think. But this is the time of year when it's good to scoop up the backup closer of losing teams because they're gonna deal their closers. So think about it.
I agree, and they'll deal their closers, and they'll be and if you could pick up a closer that's on a bad team that's available, it's a good idea to pick him up because maybe he'll be closing on a good team in July. You don't know.
100%. Uncle Ted says Gavin Williams is a gem. Thanks for the heads up on his call up. I just added him. I did the same thing, and I got my news from Ross the Boss. Thank you, Ross.
It's funny. I added him last week, just because
in our other league, right?
In the other league, because Casey told me to, so I did it.
We just pass these around. We make recommendations to each other, and we listen to each other.
So and I'm hoping he has a good start tomorrow, so I can trade him to this big Guardians fan that's in my league.
We'll set up a Gavin Williams, Matt McLean trade, and everyone will be happy.
There you go. Okay, guys. Well, I'm Ross the Boss. That's the King of Pain, Dr. Dan Ratner, and we'll see you guys Tuesday at. No, let's see everybody on Thursday.
Actually, we're skipping Thursday this week because everybody's going to be away. You're manning the fort, and we appreciate that, Ross. But we're gonna be back here on Tuesday. It'll be Ross
Tuesday, same time, 1:00. And guys, we're trying to do interviews with athletes on Monday, so just be aware. We'll let people know. But yesterday was Carlos Estevez. The week before was Todd Frazier, and the week before that was Sean Casey. So we've been doing a pretty good job getting the athletes on our platform. So just be aware. We'll let everybody know what's happening on Monday, but we have some pretty big names in mind, so we'll just be aware what's going on.
All right, great show.
I'm Ross the Boss. That's Dr. Dan Ratner. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, great show, Ross. And great hanging out with you guys. And Uncle Ted, shout out to you. We will see you all same time next week, and then we'll continue with Tuesdays and Thursdays. Look for our shorts as well, letting you know about specific waiver wire pickups. Thanks, guys.